What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Arrow Season 7, Episode 21, Living Proof. So a lot of things are coming to a head. Pretty good setup for the finale. The sequence with Oliver and Tommy kind of figured what it was. There was no surprise. I don't know if they were going for that to be a surprise. Like, oh, guys, he never actually got out. This was all just in his head. But I kind of got that feeling from the very beginning. Um, but yeah, just it was pretty well done. Like getting to see Oliver really come to terms with himself and really kind of, I guess, deal with the thought of losing everybody. Yeah, it's something he needed to figure out because he was on pretty much a manhunt to kill Emiko because of what she's done and to stop her. And I totally agree with Tommy. Like, well, his thoughts, that wouldn't help anything. It wouldn't stop anything. Not killing her, stopping her in that way, I feel like is going to be the way to really, I guess, come to terms and really fully stop what's been done and end the Queen legacy of violence and start a new Queen legacy of peace and trying to help people. Again, though, part of the problem with it is we see in the future vigilantes become outlawed anyway, which means it feels like a lot of this is not going to work. So what's the point? And again, that's my real problem with the flash forwards this season is that it feels like they spoiled a lot of what the season's trying to do. You know, them working with the SCPD, them trying to stop Emiko from ruining their reputations as vigilantes. I feel like, well, we know they're not going to succeed, or even if they do, it still happens in the future anyway, so what's the point of all of this? So I'm still not understanding why they decided to do a flash forward. I feel like it's a dumb decision. I feel like they really messed up a lot of this season because of the flash forwards. Because there's always, even though I am enjoying, I think this season is probably one of the best ones since season 4. 5 and 6 and 7 have not been great, but this is the best of it, I think, of those three. Uh, Now, as far as Emiko as a villain, probably not the best villain, but the story has been okay. Seeing them go through all this, but the one major down point is the flash forwards. Like, it really feels like they compromised a lot of what they're trying to do this season. And I don't understand why. I don't understand what they're trying to go for here. So yeah, as far as the flash forward is concerned, we see William trying to help out, trying to get this blind spot code that they can use to sneak into the Glades and get this tech and manage to destroy Archer, so that way this whole AI sentient program can not be usable because pretty much, I mean, it's an unstoppable army at this point. And yeah, again, I'm just sort of watching it. I'm just waiting to see what happens, but not really connected to it, not really feeling anything about it. It's just sort of there. So yeah, it's still such a weird decision to me. As far as what the rest of the team was going through, seeing Roy kind of take the chance and almost sacrifice himself just to be able to keep everybody alive. I mean, it's a pretty good story. Again, I still feel like Roy's inclusion in the team was sort of out of nowhere, but I liked what they went through in this episode. Seeing him trying to come to terms with what he did, and the rest of the team come to terms with what he did as well. Seeing Dinah and John argue about whether or not he should have been there in the first place. I mean, technically, yeah, they're right. He shouldn't have been, but also, what happened happened. And now it's about whether or not you want to step up for Roy. And, well, I mean, like it or not, Roy has stepped up several times in the past, so it makes sense for them to go to bat for him. So I think this was a good episode for Roy to kind of put himself out there and just pretty much say, hey, I'm willing to turn myself in. And then Dinah kind of flipping the coin and saying, earlier in the episode, she was saying that why did we step up for him? And then after he goes to bat and nearly dies in the process to save their lives is when she's kind of like, but he's a teammate too. We can't just turn our backs on you. So I don't know. I liked that little emotional moment. Emiko does find out about the baby in this episode. Kind of interesting that Oliver, in his mind, he also has a glimpse of Emiko knowing about the baby. I thought that was a little interesting that he, shortly after Emiko finds out about the baby, he has a thought of, oh, she's figured out about the baby. I don't know, it's a little weird. I don't know if that meant anything or if they just did it for dramatic effect to try to make us think that it was real. I think we all knew it wasn't. But I don't know. I'm curious to find out if that meant anything. Probably not if I had to take a guess. But yeah, it was basically a setup episode, so not much wrong with it except for just the fact that the flash forwards feel kind of pointless and it feels like it makes what's happening in the present pointless. But yeah, now it's them trying to take down Emiko. She did go through the SCPD and completely demolish them and use Oliver's arrows to do it as well, so obviously they're probably going to be on the run from the police. But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. So, on to the final episode. See you there. And finally, episode 22, You Have Saved This City. Pretty good ending. Not quite what I was expecting, because they kind of did a half and half thing where they focused half on stopping Archer in the future, and then half on trying to stop Emiko in the present. And for the most part, things worked out pretty well. They destroyed the wall in the future, which means that Archer's destroyed, which means they are not being able to be tracked. And that means there's going to be a lot of people flooding into the glades, because I guess, yeah, people are just going to want to go live there. I don't know. Again, the future arc never really concerned me. It was there. I see the connection they made at the end where, spoiler alert, apparently Felicity is going to see Oliver because of whatever sacrifice he makes at the end of the crisis, and I don't know, it feels weird. Like, this would make more sense if we saw this after the crisis happened. But we're seeing all this before the crisis happens, which means now we know that Oliver's... I already got spoiled on that, because there was the meme of Grant Gustin standing in front of Oliver's grave, like going, yeah! So that meme was flying everywhere, so I clearly saw, okay, so Oliver's probably gonna die, or at least fake his death, and I don't know what's gonna happen, but I don't know, this just feels like such a spoiler. Like the guy coming to Oliver and talking to him at the end of this episode, and then Felicity going to his grave and talking to the guy and saying, I'm ready to see him now. Like, does this not feel like they spoiled so much about the crossover event next season? Like, that's what it feels like to me. It feels like, well, now I kind of know what's going to happen from Oliver and Felicity's point of view. Like, I don't know. It's so weird. It would make sense if they didn't show the flash forward this season. And the next season we got to see some of this flash forward, and then we get to end with Felicity saying, I'm ready to go see him now. That would be kind of an emotional ending, kind of. But now that we've seen all this before the crossover event even happens, and before the crisis occurs, now we kind of know what's going on here. Like, I've managed to piece together a lot of it. So does this seem weird to anybody else, or is it just me? Because it seems really, really weird to me that they talked this much and showed this much about what's in the future for Oliver. I don't know, it's weird. It's really, really, really weird. So yeah, it's not like I hated it. Like, it was a very ominous thing. I'm so confused why they felt that was a good choice. Because now I feel like I'm going into the crossover event next season just like, well, I kind of know what to expect now. I'm also kind of wondering if every episode this season is going to end with something to do with the crisis for next season, because we see in the Flash, the news or the magazine article jumps ahead to 2019. For Arrow here, we see the guy show up and say it's happening and he needs Oliver for it, which, if that's the case, then what's the first part of the next season going to be if Oliver's going to be with this guy and the crisis probably doesn't happen until at least I don't think it does. Let's see. Yeah, not until episode 8 does the crisis event even happen. So, I don't know. I'm curious to see what next season's gonna hold. Like, what are they gonna do until the crossover event happens? Because it seems like things are starting now. So unless they're gonna talk about like the months that led up to when this guy showed up and needed Oliver's help. But if that's the case, then Oliver's not gonna be involved, and I feel like you can't have Arrow without Oliver being involved. I don't know. I guess we'll see what they decide to do. But yeah, just very befuddled as to the choices that they made. and really, I mean, either they're showing all of this stuff because they're subverting our expectations and things are actually going to work out okay, or they're showing all this stuff because they want to prepare the tender-hearted fangirls that are shipping Olicity, and they're just like, hey, just so you know, things don't work out okay, alright? So we're going to give you a precursor. This is to let you guys know things are not going to be okay, because we want you to be happy. So we don't want you to be sad. And we don't want to spring this on you that, oh my gosh, Oliver might not make it out okay. So all of you Olicity shippers out there, prepare for the worst. Okay, just prepare for the worst, because it's not going to be good. That's the only thing I can think of as to why they would show us all of this. Because it's not like you're going to show us all this stuff and then it's just not going to happen. Because we see in the future it happens, and Arrow's not a show where we can look at the future and say, oh, well, that's just a possible future. That would be something that they would do on, like, The Flash or Legends of Tomorrow. But on Arrow, they're not going to show us the future and say, never mind, guys, that none of that's going to happen because they changed the future. They wouldn't do that. If they do, then that would be really weird, because then why did you spend this season telling us this story if none of it matters to begin with? So, I don't know. It's a weird ending. I will discuss some of the Emiko stuff real quick, because also it did feel a little odd that they ended her story on such an abrupt note. I don't know. It seemed like it was building up that he was going to find a way to redeem her. She was going to redeem herself somehow. But in the end, all that really happened was she didn't take the chance to kill Oliver. So then the Ninth Circle decided to step in and usurp her from the power and say, all right, well, if you're not going to do it, then we will. And so then she fought back against them for a bit and then gets killed. And that's pretty much it. I'm just kind of like, okay, well, that was an abrupt end. This new lady steps in. Her name's Beatrice. Don't know her really. She seems like a pretty good fighter, though. She was able to kick Emiko's ass real quick. So, yeah, I guess they're setting the Ninth Circle up to be kind of the big bad for the last season as well, maybe, possibly. And we know they're going after Felicity and Mia, which is why they had to hide out, which that part did make sense why that ended up happening. But yeah, just all of that seemed a little abrupt as well. The one thing that I did want to talk about more than anything, because it did really crack me up, because as this whole ending was happening, I'm intrigued. I'm like, okay, so what's going on? And as I start to figure stuff out, I'm like, wow, they're revealing a lot of stuff. But then they take about a 2-minute break for Oliver and Felicity to have this moment. And if I could reenact how I'm watching, the TV's over there, right? I'm watching like this, and I just felt myself slowly just... Because... I'm sorry, Oliver and Felicity are not a compelling romance. She's sitting there, she's like, we're the best part of each other. I'm like, are you though? Like, nothing in these past several seasons has convinced me that you guys are a good match. Like I've said before in the Flash reviews, Barry and Iris, goals. Oliver and Felicity, goals for all of the, I guess, the ladies out there that just want this big, strong man in their life that can protect them because he's got those big, beefy abs. But, God, they're not compatible. Felicity is the worst. She's literally just constantly judging every decision he makes, and then when he gets onto her, she gets pissed at him for judging her decisions, even though he can never do anything right in her eyes. Like, even whenever he's sitting there about to save the friggin' multiverse, she's still pissed at him. Like, what the freak? Oh my God. I mean, am I the only one that feels... I cannot be the only one that feels this way about Felicity. She's literally judging and getting upset at Oliver for making the decision to go save the multiverse because he's leaving her behind. How dare he? Like, this is... Why has he always got to do this? There's always going to be something else. Why do you always have to be the one to... Because he is. That's who he is. You should have known that before you friggin' married him. If you didn't know that already, you're an idiot. Oh my god, that part, I was just sitting there. I was already kind of, like, for some reason, I'm already kind of, like, not feeling really awake today. I feel my eyelids kind of, like, drooping. It's not even, it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm just kind of, like, exhausted for some reason. So I'm, like, sitting there and I'm just like, God, is this scene ever going to end? And then she said that and I just, like, oh my lord. I will never understand how the screenwriters don't understand what they're doing. Like, how are they so ignorant that they cannot even see that Felicity is the worst? But hey, what can I do, right? Clearly, I don't know what I'm talking about because you got another season out of this. Anyways, but yeah, so all in all, this season was better. I liked a lot of Oliver in prison. I liked the new enemy, the Ninth Circle being introduced. Still not a fan of what happened with Diaz. The flash forwards really did diminish a lot of what the season was trying to do, I thought. Um, so all in all, like, so we know season 2 is the best. Season 1, slightly under it. Season 3, a little bit further down. Season 4, downturn. Season 5, a little bit up from season 4. Prometheus was pretty good. Season 6, and then season 7, slightly better than season 5, I would say. So in between season 5 and 3, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't anything fantastic, but it was better than last season by far. Still Felicity issues for sure. I mean, until oh, I think I've angered the arrow gods, and they're gonna strike me down with lightning. No, but yeah, I mean, until Felicity can finally just shove off and get off of this show and stop forcing herself into every situation and acting like she's the bee's knees and all of this stuff. I mean, honestly, if they could just cut Felicity off, if they had killed her off in like season 5, this show would have been so much better. Um, but yeah, that's just my opinion though. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts? We could talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe, future error reviews, and I'll see you guys at the next season. Peace out.